Hey podcast, in this episode we talked to Whitney Taylor about the supporting functions around business development. Sales, marketing, community outreach, working with local governments, and managing relationships. Hope you enjoy. All right, this is Lester Mascon, and this is Parker X, and not Parks and Recs, Parker X.
Maybe Parks and Rec.
And we're sitting with Whitney Taylor with We Are Whitney.
Woohoo. Or W Inc.
Or W Inc.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me and driving all the way out here. It's not easy to get to Manhattan Beach.
That's okay. It's a beautiful area.
Yes, definitely.
So you, for a while there, you were kind of specializing in the parking industry for kind of branding, marketing, business development. But back up a little bit, like, are you born and raised here in California, or did you start your life somewhere else and then ended up here? And
Yes.
how did you arrive at this moment today?
So born and raised, I'm a Midwest girl, originally from Ohio.
Okay.
Been in California now 9 years this month. Moved out here originally, moved here for law school. Went to law school, not an attorney. I actually ended up leaving 3 months before graduation.
Wow.
I know. Everybody says, what were you thinking? I wasn't. But reality is I recognized I had totally lost my passion for the law, no longer wanted to do it. The education's invaluable, and I've applied it every day of my life now and
Sure.
to all my clients. So fast forward, I think we can all say that we kind of fell into parking, so to say. Growing up, I never said, hey, I'm going to be in the parking industry in California at some point.
It's the same story with everyone. It's like, how did you end up in this industry? Well, it was something to do for a while, and then it just kind of stuck.
Yeah. But I mean, I do have to admit, though, when I started in parking, the first company I worked for was Noggles North America. So I
remember.
Yes, and Century was actually one of my clients. And I fell in love with the industry. I think a lot of people, it's a fair statement that it's underestimated. The first show I went to was the IPI in Arizona, and I said, holy cow. Well, I said another word, but I had no idea that there was this much money in parking, let alone this much technology and so many different businesses. So
it's a good industry for people with ADD. Because you
That's
get
why
to
I
do
fit.
lots of different things.
Yeah. That's what works for me. As soon as I get bored, it's game over. So started with Noggles, was with them for about a year. Century, being that they were one of my clients, ended up saying, hey, Whit, we saw, what you were able to do with them on the West Coast. Would you be interested in coming over here and assisting us?
And pretty much going from nobody knew anything about Noggles to all of a sudden,
Yeah.
like, blowing up with everybody.
Well, and so that's the thing. Everybody knew me as the LinkedIn girl.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, and that was about, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I was the LinkedIn girl. I was any show we were involved in, anything parking related, Noggles' name was involved some way or another. That's also what made me create the group SPN, SoCal Parking Network. So I did that with the hopes of, I know there's so many parking trade shows. However, there was nothing locally, like you're doing this podcast for everyone. There was nothing locally in a networking perspective of saying, let's get some of these folks together, go do a happy hour and talk about true need. So that's what we started doing. And I remember my first event was in West Hollywood, and I had 3 or 4 people show up. I could probably even name you the names. Then next thing you know, the last event I did, we had over 120. I mean, and you're talking
Really?
elected officials, everyone who's a true decision maker, plus your vendors, and it became sponsored events because it blew up.
I remember looking at a resume one time, and being part of the SoCal Parking Network was listed on the person's resume.
I forgot you told me that. That is amazing. But yeah, so started that up and then moved over to Century. That's back when you were still there as well.
Yeah.
With Century, I assisted with doing business development strategy, marketing, PR, government relations. And I remember my first meeting, and rest his soul, Tim Flanagan, and with Seth, they said, hey, it's just something that we haven't done, and we're looking to try and figure it out, how we do it, what works. You were able to get Noggles' name out there. Can you do it for us? So it was completely different type of company, a different size company, and it was exciting. I mean, we really took off, and it was trying to figir out what would work. Was with Century for almost 2 years. And that's when, there was a lot of changes going on, and Ski Data was getting more involved, and the purchase had then happened. That's, I think, when I started getting more of the confidence and courage to say, I can go and do this on my own and still provide all of those same services, but as a business of my own for me. And
that's awesome.
I feel like that was the time. If you're going to do it, it's like you might as well just jump.
Might as well take the lead.
Yeah, because it's quite the lead.
So thinking about businesses that you work with today. So how long have you been on your own now?
4 years today.
4 years. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It's
Good for you.
been quite a roller coaster.
The life of an entrepreneur.
I know, right? Yeah, the learning curve. Oh my God.
Well, so now when you meet with businesses, like when people first walk in and they're thinking, okay, I want something, right? I want to grow. I want to establish my brand. Like what do the first conversations look like when someone's talking to you about that? Like, what are your questions you're asking? What do you need to know? Is it really about goals and what they're trying to achieve, or is it more? Or do you need to establish that with them almost? Because usually they probably have a different idea.
Right. So you hit the nail on the head with the first part of, if somebody's reaching out to me. So one thing I do have to say is my business has been referral based for 4 years. I have done, as much as we talk about marketing.
That's the best compliment you can have, right?
Yes, I'm very blessed. It's been all referral based. So if someone's calling me, they already know what the need is, and it's been identified that, like you said, is it that they want to grow? Is it that they want the local government type contracts? Is it that they've never done marketing, don't have business development strategy? They just need an overall someone to come in and say, hey, here's what we can do. So when it's multifaceted like that, the meetings, as you asked, when I sit down with them, I say, hey, listen, what is the goal? Do you want to sell the company? You want to just grow it so you're, in California, or you want to expand across the United States?
So they've got to be really honest with you.
Yeah.
And
most
they really
are.
want to achieve. Sure.
Yeah. And so when we figure that out, and if it is business development driven, business development, as we were discussing prior, is business development's the big umbrella. Off of that, all the rest of that foundation, all those channels, that's what holds it up. That's PR. That's your overall strategy, whether it be for marketing, your government relations, your outreach. It's everything. You miss one of those components, it's a lot of lost money.
So what's the difference between public relations, marketing, and branding?
Okay, so we'll start with branding. I feel like I need to be writing on a whiteboard.
I know,
or something.
I work better with it.
I know you do. You love your whiteboards.
I love my whiteboard.
Let's be real. They're blackboards in here, though. So, like I said, with that umbrella type, when it comes to a brand, it's who you are. It's what you represent, what you want to be known for. Without identifying your brand, you really don't have anything, because you don't have the channels or the structures or a foundation to say, this is who we are, this is what we want to do.
There's certainly no loyalty if there's no brand.
Right. So you develop a brand, you have the tone, you have the climate of the company, all of that. And then from there, you decide on, here's marketing. And marketing, again, there are so many different types of marketing, and it's constantly changing, as I'm sure you're seeing, especially nowadays. So you start doing your marketing once a brand's been identified. You figure out for that business, depending on type, if it's a service, if it's a product or products, what's going to work best for you. From the PR side, that's your outreach, that's your publicity, that's being in front of people, so to say. Okay. What are you doing to promote? Biz dev, all of those fall into the business development strategy as a whole. So does that kind of
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Brand
I think,
marketing,
I think
high level at least?
Well, I think business development is a word that a lot of people, they get what they're trying
underestimate.
Underestimate, but they also end up rolling it into their marketing and treating marketing like it's the umbrella, or they treat business development like it's only one of those avenues. So kind of understanding the difference between how all of them kind of prop up the whole thing is it's important.
And a lot of times I think with business development, it's the relationships. It really is. And with the marketing, the PR, they all just complement each other. But business development is in front of people and creating relationships that you don't need at that time. It's future-based, because you need to have that relationship prior to needing something from them.
That's a really good point. Making sure that everyone that you bump into, you end up establishing some sort of good relationship with them, because you just never know when you'll be able to help each other.
And you never know where somebody will end up. And then especially, They say parking is the industry. Once you're in, and it's just different shirts, same people. It really is an extremely incestuous industry, so to say. But I think it's a good thing because you watch everyone from where they start and see how much they grow. And it's amazing because when you first start out and you might be with this company at a super small location as an operator, and next thing you know, you're running the whole place. I mean, you just don't know. And never burn a bridge.
Yeah. Well, the negative ROI of what people say about you when you're not around.
Yeah.
If you've done that is pretty intense.
Yeah. do you have some examples of negative ROI?
Just think about it. Like when people are often nice to your face usually, or at least use cordial. But think about the people that you've had bad experiences with, and someone asks you about them when they're not around.
Yeah.
I mean, you share that usually. Same with a business, same with an individual. I mean, you just...
Personal experience
every time.
People, it's always the two extremes. People love to talk when it's good and love to talk when it's bad. There is no in between. Never. I mean, that's reality.
So you participate in a lot of the parking specific trade shows, but if you were to, talk to someone today about what their strategy should be around that, would you include anything besides that, or would it just be... Would you stay parking specific on that?
So I think it depends who the client is and who their customers are. So a great example is if you're, say, a parks provider, all the access revenue control equipment, you are supplying to not only cities, you're supplying to folks within the real estate space, you're focusing on retail, it could be theme parks. Those are a lot of missed opportunities. I think a lot of companies don't realize, because when you say, okay, my product's in the parking industry, but I'm only attending parking trade shows, what about all of those retail shows? Great.
I think that's a really passive way to actually get your product in front of people, because you're just counting on people that are going to come to you, essentially.
Yep.
Instead of actually reaching out and trying to...
Go direct. I mean, that's reality. Those are the decision makers. You have your operators, and sometimes, with those different real estate groups, they rely on the operator because they don't know parking. I mean, let's be real. Majority of folks, they don't know parking. They know it's important and they know it's a problem, but they have no idea what else is out there. So if you're going direct to them, say, for example, an ICSC Recon, it's a huge show. It's the International Council of Shopping Centers. It's in Vegas. It's actually happening this coming week. You're going straight direct to Simon. You're going to Westfield. Any of those big time shopping centers and retail industry, they're direct right there. They're going to be one of a couple parking folks that are actually there. And they're going to say, hey, wait, when they need equipment, do you remember those guys that we saw at ICSC? And assuming everybody follows up. Follow up.
It's
so
important.
So important. We should hashtag that.
Yeah,
hashtag follow up. So, but no, that's key. You're dealing straight with source. I mean, they're the ones with the money. They're the ones who are decision makers. Yeah, they rely on the other folks within our industry, but I think it's a lot of missed opportunity.
Well, I think you have a little more attention at one of those shows too, because you kind of end up being this unique thing that's there instead of it being something focused on that.
Yeah, another table for them to buy.
Yeah.
Or granted, they make a lot of deals there with vendors for their locations and
sure.
whatnot, but yeah. So it's pretty cool.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, let's dive into marketing just a little bit. So what's your take on some of the best marketing channels, really from more of an outbound, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's social media, you don't see many parking companies doing like a commercial. I'm not sure why you would these days, but
right.
What would you encourage someone to put their money towards?
So I think each platform, what's great about each platform is they're so different, and they also serve different audiences. When it comes to LinkedIn is great when it's more B2B. You're dealing with business to business.
Sure.
That marketing there, whether it be getting in touch with a decision maker of a company that you may have never contacted in your life, but you guys have connections through LinkedIn. It's great intros. Do marketing on there prior to going to different types of trade shows.
Do you paid marketing or just
you can do both.
Outreach?
So I agree with doing both. If
Okay.
it's going to be paid, it needs to be very strategic in identifying who that audience is, what the geographical reach is, and if it's surrounding just a product, a company in general, the brand, so to say, or if it's show related. But doing both, I think, is crucial. You need the organic as well as paid. Same thing goes with anything on an SEO, SEM, Google Analytics.
So how do you feel about SEO, SEM now? Because, I mean, there was a time when that was like what you did. Do you still feel like it's that? I mean, I've gone for me, I've gone into such a social world, right? Where it's like, it's LinkedIn, it's Facebook, it's Instagram.
Operations
it's
to
Twitter.
social. Let's get that right.
Yeah.
What a different change for you.
But I mean, the organic reach within LinkedIn is ridiculous.
It's amazing. And if you have a huge network, it's even better. So looking and seeing how, and granted, you don't want just a huge network of random folks, but if you have a huge network of qualified people, always for me is quality over quantity.
Yep.
But the more quality you have and more of the quantity, you're killing it.
So you sit with a company today that's trying to sell into the parking industry or whatever it is. Are you encouraging SEO, SEM as well? Or
for
not
some,
as much?
I think it applies for some, and it also depends what it is I'm doing for them. One example of a company, I'm actually doing all of their overall branding and marketing right now. I'll throw their name out there. Just all you parking folks, if you ever need anyone to do any of your hardware service or maintenance, there's a wonderful company called Reset. They're fabulous. Galen Pacini, reach out to him. So I'm actually assisting them right now in the state of California, just overall marketing and branding. We're redoing their website. We're giving them a completely different look. For them, SEO, SEM is important, and here's why. They don't just serve the parking industry.
That's just true.
Yes. So there are a bunch of different industries out there, but no one knows how to find them. So when you are trying to figure something out, what does everyone do? They Google it, right? You go online, you look up who fixes X, who fixes this. So for them to be able to pop up on Google, that's crucial. For them, it makes sense. Other companies, maybe not so much, because most folks are going to know immediately who to call if they type in something and all the names come. That's different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I would say yes and no. It's hit or miss, depending on the company.
Are you doing anything social with them?
We will be.
Okay.
We will be. So we'll be focused a lot on LinkedIn with them, and then Facebook for more of just the personal relatability. Because for us, it's all business to business.
So I think for me, I think I've focused on, I think the social stuff that really takes off is when you actually bring value to people. Either
sure.
Educate or entertain. And then I think you have to do that.
A good balance.
Well, 8 or 9 times. And then the 10th time you can plug something for yourself. But your audience needs to be there because they're getting value from it.
Correct.
If it's all just look at me and look at what I did,
nobody cares.
Nobody really cares. They don't listen to it. They don't follow it. They don't read it.
It's the value, and it's also how can they help you? How can we fix a problem? There's a problem, we're the solution. That's key.
Bring value.
Always.
As a business as well.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool.
I agree.
So you're located now in Manhattan Beach, but do you go outside of California? Do you work with companies outside of California, or is it mostly locally here?
So a lot of the parking companies, they'll have headquarters all over the world.
Okay.
Those folks, they might be in Vancouver, but I'm here and I assist them in California. Most of my efforts are done, whether it be business development direct for me to help them get business. I'm dealing specifically in California. If it's strategy driven, then I'm able to do that for them on a national level and international, depending what it is. So
you're using your network to actually bring relationships together, bring people together to try to come up with some value.
Correct. So a company, like I said, if they're saying, hey, we specifically need relationships in California, Southern California, and we're trying to get deals in X, Y, and Z cities, they can bring me on to assist specifically with just those one-time deals, or it can be for something that would be more long-term of bringing me on as more of a consultancy type role.
It's almost like a lobbyist type position as well then.
Yes.
For the individual.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
So from the lobbying side, it would be more, which I did do lobbying for years ago when everything was getting ramped up for my business. Mm-hmm. And that's all local level. So I don't go any higher than local government. So it's more of your mayors, your city councils, commissions, public works, all of them.
Well, you got to use your network and relationships on that one to bring that stuff to the table.
Yeah.
So why does someone, why would you bring in a lobbyist? Is it just because you have no relationship and you're trying to...
So for some folks, if they're located out of state, it's really difficult. Say, just throwing a name out there, example, because we're here, Manhattan Beach. They go, hey, wow, Manhattan Beach, we'd love to get in that city, whatever their product might be. Mm-hmm. But I don't know anybody. Where do you start? Great example. I have one of my dear friends, extremely intelligent. She's a doctor. She knows nothing about local government, down to the point that she even goes, how there's different council members, who runs what? And for me, it's just such common knowledge. I
Sure.
go, wait a minute, you don't know this? And she goes, why would I? I don't know. You're a smart woman. But you think of companies who might want to be doing business in these cities, but they have no idea where to start, especially parking industry. A lot of these companies are European, totally
Sure.
different types of governments, right?
Yep.
So where do they begin? Is it with the mayor? Is it with public works? And a lot of times we don't know each city. If they don't have parking supervisors, it can fall under public works. It can fall under the chief of police. It can just be its own entity, kind of lost in the dust. So they retain me, or they get a lobbyist, so to say, and say, hey, listen, how do we navigate this? Who are the decision makers? Who has majority vote in these cities?
Okay.
So that's what we
So
do.
you want to become the guide for them, and then also start helping them build relationships and give them a platform to talk about their product and what they can actually bring as value.
And how it fits into that city, yeah.
I mean, honestly, the challenging part sometimes just getting invited to these things and being like getting like in the know, so you're actually understanding all the opportunities that are out there.
It's a very intimate type setting, and a great example when you were asking about, branching out to these different trade shows. You think back to both of our Century days 4.5, 5 years ago. Remember, we had gotten involved, or I got Century involved in doing a lot of the shows that were politically driven, going to those
Sure.
conferences we were the only parking folks there. And
perfect.
it was amazing. And you develop those relationships and tell these cities, hey, listen, this is what our equipment can do for you, or this product or service, whatever it might be. And it's, again, as we said, developing that relationship before you need it, or before you would want to need it.
I think too, what I always want to do with people is I want to establish who they're going to be working with. I mean, because the product's great. I think the product is a big part of it. The service you offer has to be relevant to the person. They have to have a need, obviously, that you can fit, but also establishing, and this may be more brand, but just establishing, it's like, hey, we're really easy people to work with, and we're going to help.
Right.
We're here to help. We're not here to be painful and all those things. We want to come help you.
And yeah, the moment that you make things difficult, and especially for cities that are listening, I apologize, but it's a very long process with any city, naturally so.
Yeah, being easy to work with helps.
Oh, it makes a world of a difference. One
Being
thing goes
flexible.
wrong, and it's like 5,000 pieces of paper go through. But yeah.
I wouldn't survive very well on that.
No, me either. 'Cause my patience level is about like real small. So yeah,
It makes sense.
yeah.
So if someone wants to engage with you to try to move some of these parts of their business forward, who are the companies that are a best fit for you, and how should they reach out to you?
So one, everyone can always reach out to me via cell or my email.
Okay.
Other thing is the companies that would be a good fit, I would say, are ones who either A, need just overall business development strategy, say, hey, how do we break into these different markets? What do we need to be doing that we either haven't been, or maybe we were lacking in one part?
Okay.
It might be overall just marketing, outreach as a whole. From a PR perspective, those are different types of speaking engagements, and also positioning them as more of a leader in the space. And anything that would be on government relations type level is, if you are a provider of a service or a technology or a product, and you need to get in with the local electeds and you need them in Southern California, that's something I can do. Northern California, nah.
Not so much. Huh?
No, that's not my strong
It's a
suit,
little
but yeah, Southern California for sure.
And if you could leave all of our listeners with just a tip or a piece of advice, what would you? What little gem, what little nugget of wisdom would you drop on them?
Well, like I said, I think the most important thing, and I've always said this, is it's relationships. It's making sure you actually know who that person is and listen. It's so easy to just have something that you want to say before you've even actually listened, and truly be getting to know them. And as I said, you want those relationships before you truly need them. And
Sure.
that could be years out, that could be months out, but it's focus on business development. Don't underestimate it. Like we said, it's, I think, forgotten, sometimes left in the dust. And follow up. Don't follow up when you are needing and asking them for something. It could be a simple, let's grab a coffee. How's their week? Because we're all going through something all the time. and you never know it. So don't simply follow up to say, hey, listen, when are we going to sit down and get that proposal drafted? It's, hey, hope you had a great weekend. Like, let's grab a cup of coffee. We'd love to chat. So
It's being genuine.
truly, that it's hard to find that nowadays.
I agree.
You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you. So did you want to leave? What's the best way to contact you?
Cell phone, 310-779-8002. Text or call.
All right. Sounds good.
And I'll leave a card with you too.
Cool. We'll post it as an image on there.
Great. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yes.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to the show. Having a lot of fun doing this, if you can't tell. Please do me a favor. If you're getting value from it, please share it. Share it with your friends. Share it with everyone you know. Comment on LinkedIn. That's always the most help. Commenting on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but definitely on LinkedIn. That's where we're engaging the most, as well as Twitter. And if you liked it, if you didn't like it, tell us what you think. Rate it, subscribe, all the above. Thanks a ton. Bye.